lot of residents were waiting for this exact morning, and we had to hold them back. We were anticipating possibly letting them in last night, but the Forest Service advised against it. So this morning, and my understanding is that most of the residents have gone back to their homes today and are down there right now looking at their individual circumstances.
Are a lot of these residents seeing what's left of their homes, the damaged homes, for the first time today?
The only individuals that were down there prior to this were the people that had their homes destroyed. So the other 30 plus homes, this would be their first opportunity to be down there.
Have you folks spoken to anybody as they're arriving home?
We have a checkpoint on the way down to keep it to residents only at this point in time. One of the deputy fire chiefs was down there, and he was kind of making sure everything was going smoothly, and was kind of the face of Lake Country down there. So we've obviously talked to a lot of them because they've been here almost on a daily basis, getting updates as to when the expectation was to get back in there.
Go ahead, Claudia. Oh, sorry. Obviously with something like of this magnitude, a lot of people in the community just curious to come down and check out the homes in the fire ravaged areas. Is there a message for the community at large as far as like wanting to come take a look?
Right. As I mentioned, we have a checkpoint on Nighthawk Road. For the next couple of days, we're trying to restrict it to residents and their insurance companies and people that have been impacted down there. I would suggest, as the general public want to have a look at the area, that they are allowed on Tyndall Road, and from Tyndall Road you can see one of the homes that was burned and where the fire has gone across Tyndall into Jack Seaton Park. The other area that you can see where the fire started, which is on Okanagan Center Road West, you can see approximately about 1 kilometer of burnt area where it went right up the hillside at the initial start. So I would say those, if people want to go down and have a look, those are two good areas. They're not going to disrupt the neighborhood down there by doing that.
How are how's your crew managing after this kind of devastation?
I think there's a few people that were on that initial truck that are kind of second guessing themselves. And we've had discussions with them, and the deputy has as well, and that, this fire, it didn't matter, I don't think, how much equipment we had on the scene. The thing that saved most of the houses initially was that air tanker support. Without it, we would have lost, I'm sure, that whole neighborhood. Our guys were down there, and then we had all the mutual aid. There really was nothing else they could have done. They did save a lot of homes down there. So really second guessing by thinking, well, what if we'd done something different? I really don't think there was anything different they could have done.
What about messaging to the public as the heat continues?
Well, obviously the wildfire branch is very, very concerned. Things like, or campfires, period. We're still getting calls, and in some cases, they are propane campfires, so they are illegal to have them versus a wood-fired campsite. But things like, cigarette butts tossed out the windows. And we've had a couple of these in the municipality here in the last couple of weeks. They have started grass fires on the sides of the road. We managed to get them early enough, but people need to take care. And wildfire, there's some storm fronts coming through. They likely will be having to look to deploy to other areas fairly rapidly, maybe today or tomorrow. So, if we get another incident somewhere in the valley or elsewhere, it takes a lot of manpower, as you've seen, to fight these fires. And we're stretched pretty thin throughout BC, not just in the valley here.
Are we expecting a cause to be released on this fire? I think you and I were chatting the other day that, whether it's a campfire, whether it's a cigarette, how important it is to people to learn from this and just be a little bit more careful. Are we going to learn what caused this fire?
The question was asked today by Emergency Operations Center where the investigation was and would a cause be released, or are they expecting it to be released shortly. The answer from the wildfire branch was that they are in the process now, and it does take a long time, where they've gathered all their evidence. It was 2 or 3 days down there with the RCMP, gathered all their evidence, and now they're in the process of eliminating things. So, and that's how they operate. So they will eliminate things one by one, and it does take a while to. You may find a cigarette butt there on the side of the road, but maybe that had been there for a month. So there's ways of ascertaining how long these things have been there. So it takes a while. I've asked that if we can sooner than later get a cause so we can get it out to the public, if it was a campfire, if it was a cigarette butt, if it was something else.
Do we know what's been eliminated?
No, they have not shared that with us.
How do you think the community handled this event?
I think it was amazing. I think community came together. People that night and that day, they took direction extremely well. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have had death or injuries. That was the start of it. And then we had huge support throughout the community, throughout Lake Country and all of our partners in wildfire. Without that, we would have been in a lot more trouble. The community then supported the fire department. We had offers of help. We had people here, and maybe they couldn't fight the fire, but they could help. They could pick up food. They could wash hose. They could do things. So we had a lot of people here for days, literally on end, helping us. And we had, just the good wishes. One of the fire halls the other night, people had gone there and they'd written thank yous all over the sidewalks and that, which was really nice for the guys. They really appreciated that.
How is the transition of people going back into the evacuation zone gone?
It's been fairly smooth from my understanding of it. The people had the expectation of going back. We tried to have it organized so that their utilities were ready to go. So Hydro had done a lot of work. Fortis had to rehook up the main line going in there. They had to pressure test it overnight last night. And they're down on the site today, so they'll individually go to each home and relight. I think we progressed kind of slowly, and part of it's because of the wildfire. There's still a lot of fire in that, within that perimeter. Our firefighters last night, probably, found a dozen hot spots, and today we've had several already today. That will go on for weeks. So, we didn't want to rush to get people back in. We wanted to be really 100% comfortable. We were ready, and then when they go back in, we're not asking them to leave for any reason again.
This work will go on for weeks, eh?
I suspect it will. And in past experience, my past experience, I would say we'll probably be out there. We'll be getting phone calls, chasing and smoke sightings out in the burned areas.
Is that because it gets into the root systems?
It's into talking to some of the crews last night when they came back, and we've got roots that are a foot across, and they're totally burnt out. So it's really like burning under the ground totally, and then it'll pop up, and we'll get a bit of a smoke or a bit of a flame sighting.
Have you spoken to residents about how to watch for that and to be careful?
Yes, we've advised them, to be careful around their homes and that there may be hazards there that we really, in our look at their property, haven't seen. It could be everything from siding that's no longer, attached to the house properly and falling on them to these burn pits. There's lots of things that could be out there. So we've asked them to be very, very careful on their properties.